In other words, we've started 2023 as we promised we would, with energy, with pace, and most importantly, with delivery. And that delivery is really at the heart of one of the most exciting announcements of this quarter, our extended partnership with the Department of Defense. Our relationship with the DoD stems back to 2016, and at several points along the way, we've had the opportunity to extend our relationship based on our track record of delivery. What began as a $970,000 project award from the Defense Innovation Unit in 2017 has, over the course of 6 years, turned into a range of contracts and extensions across multiple government agencies worth more than $150 million in total, including, of course, our most recent announcement, which added an additional $55 million to a contract with Agility Prime that is now worth up to $131 million in total. I would like to think that belief also played a role in Michael Berta's decision to join the Joby board. As a current Delta board member and a former FAA administrator, he brings a wealth of experience and insight to the table, and we're honored to have him on our team. That belief was further underscored by the announcement we made earlier today that Bailey Gifford, who first invested in Joby more than 3 years ago, has agreed to lead an additional equity investment of approximately $180 million. Bailey is known for their track record of investing early in high-impact technology companies and has a reputation of being a patient, long-term investor with a vision for sustainable transportation that matches ours. The additional funds will allow us to steepen the curve on early production, enabling us to capitalize on opportunities like the DoD contract extension without impacting the runway we already have available to see us through the certification process. It's a great vote of confidence in what our team is delivering day in and day out, and we're excited to maintain that momentum and build on that belief as we look ahead to starting commercial operations in 2025.
Thanks, Joby. As you mentioned at the top of the call, the progress we've made with our company-conforming aircraft has been a real highlight this quarter. If you take a look at the photos in our shareholder letter, you will see that we now have the 3 main aerostructures, the fuselage, tail, and wing, painted and assembled. The vast majority of the flight electronics have also been installed in the aircraft. The landing gear is ready to be installed, and we have completed all the components for our 6 electronic propulsion units and a full set of battery modules built and in testing. All the while, we're making great progress in our integrated test lab, where we're now completing full system verification testing on our software, electronics, and powertrain systems ahead of flight testing. In other words, we're right on track. At this point, I'd like to say a big thank you to the Joby team and also to the Toyota team for helping us maintain this awesome momentum. We're working as one synchronized team, and I'm really pleased with the speed at which we're making progress together. While our strategic relationship with Toyota has been in place for many years, it continues to grow organically. In April, we signed a long-term supply agreement with them that covers key powertrain and actuator components for our aircraft. These components, designed by Joby, leverage Toyota's deep manufacturing knowledge and expertise in delivering reliable, high-quality vehicles at high volume. It also means that we're now integrating Toyota manufactured parts into an aircraft that's assembled in a pilot production line that Toyota helped us design. We're incredibly grateful for their support and look forward to celebrating the rollout of this aircraft together. Turning now to our progress on certification, I'm pleased to say that we've made great progress across the quarter. On our last call, we highlighted that we had effectively completed the second of 5 stages required to achieve type certification. I'm pleased to report that we have now completed the vast majority of the work required on the Joby side of Stage 3, having submitted a further 3 area-specific certification plans to the FAA during this quarter, taking our total from 8 to 11, with only 2 largely completed plans remaining to be submitted. These documents describe the tests we need to perform to certify our aircraft, and with 11 of 13 submitted, we are on track to complete our stated goal of having all AFCPs for the agreed to means of compliance submitted within the first half of this year. We have also had a further 2 AFCPs accepted by the FAA, bringing the total accepted to 7 and moving the percentage progress on the FAA side of Stage 3 forward significantly from 53% to 63%, marking an important step towards completing the 3rd stage. The majority of our team is now heads down, focused on Stage 4, where we design, develop, and dry run the testing we described in Stage 3, ahead of entering into formal for-credit testing with the FAA. This preparation work is absolutely critical to achieving a smooth certification process. And while it means we may not see the bars on our certification chart move as dramatically as they have recently, our team will be working as hard as ever. As one example of the progress we're making in Stage 4, in areas like our flight computer, we're already at the point where we're simulating FAA inspection visits with a team member playing the role of an FAA inspector. We may not necessarily give ourselves full credit for that on our certification tracker, but it's incredibly important work that will ensure we are able to move forward as fast as possible when we're ready to begin for-credit testing. Stage 4 has by far the highest number of elements to it of any stage, but it's much more black and white than the earlier stages. To put it in a different way, we've moved from talking about how we would do something to actually executing on it.
Thanks, Didier. As of the end of the first quarter, we have $978 million in cash and short-term marketable securities, providing a solid foundation for our operations. This strong balance sheet will be further strengthened by the investment we announced today, led by Baillie Gifford, totaling approximately $180 million, which we expect to close within the coming days. Before jumping into this quarter's financial results, I'd just like to quickly touch on this investment. As we have said in prior calls, we are very comfortable with the robustness of our balance sheet, and we were not looking to raise capital at this time. However, when Baillie Gifford, an existing long-term investor in Joby since 2020, reached out, looking to increase their investment on behalf of their clients, we agreed that further strengthening our balance sheet was the right thing to do with an investor that is so closely aligned with our mission and shares our long-term perspective. Turning now to our financial results for the first quarter of 2023, we incurred a net loss of $113 million, reflecting a loss from operations of nearly $100 million and negative other income of about $14 million. Other income from the quarter primarily reflected the $22 million unfavorable revaluation from our derivative liabilities as the price of our shares and warrants rose during the quarter, partly offset by net interest income of $8 million. Adjusted EBITDA was a loss of $75 million. This was about $6 million higher than the first quarter of 2022, reflecting increased staffing and costs to support certification, partly offset by increased payments from government contract deliverables. Our adjusted EBITDA loss was $2 million less than the fourth quarter, reflecting primarily increased contract deliverables completed in the first quarter. Our global staffing.
So, Matt, you highlighted you've got $978 million of cash and short-term investments on the balance sheet. When I look at the stock price today, it's still closer to historical lows versus historical highs. So why raise capital now? And why not wait until more certification milestones are achieved and potentially, your stock could be at a higher place when you don't need liquidity today?
Hi, Christine. This is Paul Sciarra. Happy to answer your question. As both JB and I think Matt stated in the sort of opening comments, we did, even prior to this investment, felt really good about our cash position and our ability to continue to forward invest to get ourselves to and through certification. However, today's announcement is importantly related to the announcement that we made last week about the next phases of our work with the Department of Defense. The folks at Baillie Gifford, who we've already said, we've known for quite a while, and we're investors in the company, both as a private company and turn in our go public transaction, came to us a few weeks ago and said they wanted to build their position. They could do that either through open market investments or directly onto our balance sheet through the shelf that we had outstanding. In light of what we think is a growing opportunity to deliver aircraft and potentially generate revenue with the DoD, we felt it prudent to add to our already strong balance sheet through this investment. This gives us an opportunity to scale pilot production sooner, build more aircraft, deliver those to this first set of customers, and we thought that, and to do that without necessarily sacrificing the revenue that we need to get.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the time. Maybe transitioning over to the aircraft itself. You discussed that with the company conforming aircraft, a lot of the major aerostructures have already been assembled. So maybe you just provide a little color on how these differ from the current S4 aircraft that you're flight testing, maybe in terms of specification, dimensions, or weight. And then for the initial aircraft deliveries to the DoD in 2024, is that the current iteration, or will that be more akin to the type conforming aircraft?
Okay, thanks for the question. So I think it's important to think about this aircraft as an evolution of the one that's currently flying, in that we learned a lot of lessons throughout the multitude of flights, and we continue to be flying on a regular basis with the existing aircraft. And across the pyramid of the aircraft, and when I talk about pyramid, I'm thinking about components, subsystems, systems, and all the way up to the aircraft. We've had a lot of lessons learned with the existing aircraft. Primarily, all of those fall into, or the majority of these fall into the categories of optimization. So as you saw, for example, in one of the videos that we launched recently, we learned that we can develop an equally performing Ethernet switch that's half the size, half the weight, and architect the system to where we can benefit from that to increase the performance of the various systems within the aircraft. Overall, from an aero standpoint, from an aerodynamic standpoint, not a lot of changes on that front. So we feel that we've proven the performance of the aircraft, and that's been solid and committed to from the very beginning. The real changes will be evolutionary from within the inside of the aircraft.
I see. Thank you.
And then on the, I wanted to make sure that I got the second question, which I think was about whether or not these are the same aircraft that we're going to be producing for DoD, and the answer is yes. One of the things that's really important to understand is that DoD has a process called military airworthiness, which is related to, but importantly different from, FAA type certification. You can think about it as a sort of subset for which FAA type certification is a sort of superset. So the work that we're doing to progress increasingly certifiable components, just increasingly certifiable aircraft, we can use the aircraft that we are building now and essentially delivering to DoD to really continue to improve and get closer and closer to what we need to for both type certification and production certification on the FAA side. Does that make sense?
Hey, thanks for taking the time. I apologize for the background. I'm also in an airport like Bill, although I can report that I'm in a Delta lounge, so helping out the team at least a little bit there. I guess first on the aircraft question, you talked about important work that you're doing with the company conforming aircraft. Can you maybe just expand on that a little bit? I guess I'm interested in the amount of data that comes from the testing that you're doing on the company conforming aircraft and how that would be interpreted by the FAA. Like, is it something that is more internal, or is it something where they're going to review, understand the results, kind of do some work on those tests, and then just, the subsequent, for the FAA conforming aircraft would be more just, checking that, the aircraft performance is expected based on the earlier tests?
Thanks for the question, David, and hope next time you call us in the future, we'll be about to pick up an S4 from an airport to an airport. To answer your question, I think what's best is to put the perspective here is to put this aircraft and testing we're doing in the sense of going back to the 5 stages of certification. So we talked about stage 1, 2, and 3, where really those conclude with the area-specific cert plans. Stage 4 is really a lot about or all about the testing. The testing really is at all levels or layers of the aircraft, from the smallest component to the subsystems and systems in all the way up to the airplane. So when you develop all your test plans, each of these test plans will really be targeted towards one of these levels and then towards specific functions on these levels. This aircraft will effectively serve the test plans that are intended for an airplane, and they will be used as a dry run before we actually have the FAA conforming airplane, where we run hopefully those same test plans for credit with the FAA, getting us into stage 5 and then the type certification.
Hey guys, sorry, thanks for taking our question again. Just two quick housekeeping for us. Matt, sorry if I missed this, but in regards to the CapEx spend for this year, I think in the past you had mentioned you'd expect it to be slightly below last year. I just wanted to confirm, is that still the case? And then finally, how are things progressing with the piloted test flights? Is that still on track for, or I guess it should be any time now, soon, I guess. So just any color there would be great. Thanks.
Sure. So for CapEx, what we guided was it would be less than last year. Recall last year we acquired the building here in Santa Cruz that serves as an R&D and office location. That was $25.5 million. So we do expect our CapEx to be less than 2022. We are on track. So what we announced on our last call was that we plan to complete our build and roll out this first aircraft off the line in the first half of the year. And I think, as we said on that call, that's on track, and that we would have a flight with pilot on board by the end of the year, and on track for that as well. So remain on track with all of our full year goals.
Wonderful. Thank you.
JoeBen Bevirt for closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody joining. One piece that I wanted to touch on, we didn't have a lot of questions on certification, but I just would like to highlight how critically important this is. We're into this really exciting stage 4, which is testing. It's a mountain of hard work, but I think, as many of you have seen when you've come and visited our facilities, we've really invested heavily in in-house testing infrastructure, and we are going to be doubling down on that work and that team as we work our way through stage 4 and prove out the remarkable capabilities that we've built into every component on this aircraft that Didier spoke about. And just in closing, I'm more optimistic than I've ever been before about the prospects that lie before us, and I'm very grateful to all of our partners, whether that's Toyota, Delta, the DoD, and our investors, and we're really excited about the future. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join our call today.